All right, so we have just been listening to that special report about the stock market and obviously ups and downs. This is a big down for us to start the week.
It is. We wanted to know more about the best investment options right now. So joining us is fiduciary investor and financial planner James Di Virgilio, a part of Chacon, Di Virgilio and Diaz Wealth Management. And we're so glad to have you today at such a time as this. I'm sure you're getting lots of calls and people are worried. So what are you telling them?
Well, there's good reason for concern. And at my firm, we actually sold out of the stock market at the end of February. So we're in a fortunate position. But the reality is most people's 401ks, their retirement, if they're retirees, this is one of the most panic-filled times of their lifetime. And if you're 70, you've lived through a lot of financial shocks. The most important thing for any investor to do now is ask themselves, do I have an investment strategy? And if the answer to that question is no, they need to begin to answer that now. The temptation is to just kind of close your eyes. I'm not going to look for several years. I hope it all works out. But you really need to make sure, what's my strategy? What should I be doing? Because using our emotions leads to panic buying, which is why there's no toilet paper or sanitizer, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing happens with our investment portfolios.
And so when you talk about that strategy, do you mean sitting down with someone like yourself or someone from, a local firm to talk about when is my limit? When do I need to make these big decisions? Because people who are retired are really, like you said, in panic mode.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether you're 25 or you're 75, you need to have a fiduciary or someone who has your legal best interest at heart looking over your financial planning and your investment management. You need to optimize those things. You need to have a plan. You need to make sure you have an emergency fund. You need to make sure you're spending the appropriate amount of money. If you're retired now, there's a certain amount you should be taking from your portfolio, and you must be able to take that even during months and years like these. If you panic and you start selling all your investments, then you don't get a return, you may run out of money before the end of your life. These are very serious matters. You need somebody who is a professional to look over what is happening. The sad part is only 1 in 10 financial advisors are fiduciaries. It's not that easy to get the advice you need, so a lot of us just sort of follow what our neighbors or our friends do, and it's sort of a lemming theory where everyone kind of does the wrong thing all at the same time.
So when you said you sold out of the stock market, where did those investments go?
Well, the best thing historically to be in when you're not in the stock market during a bear market or a crash would be short-term or mid-term treasury bonds. Now, an interesting question is raised. We just saw the special report. If interest rates are at 0, what can you really make in a bond? So cash may in fact be the best thing to be in today. We're just at a very interesting time, I think globally and in the US with monetary policy and fiscal policy. We're sort of at the end of our rope. So I think it's more important now than ever to make sure that your investment strategy is in fact a strategy.
And I talked to you about this as we were in that special report. Is this the worst that we've seen? I mean, this is really historic.
This is the fastest drop we've seen entering into a bear market. We talked about 1987, which was a one-day sort of flash crash, explainable based upon algorithmic trading. This is different. This is a full-on panic. This is much like a run on the bank during the Great Depression, except this is a run on our health, causing the world to shut down. This is unprecedented. And what you're seeing is the market is actually trying to react to the fact that these companies are not going to be as profitable. You're going to have small businesses closing in places like Italy and elsewhere. That's going to affect our economy for years to come. On average, it takes at least 3 years to get out of a bear market. This is probably not something that we're going to get back from in a month or two.
Do you see this being something that we come back from differently, like we'll never be the same financially in the States or globally?
Yeah, human behavior is probably the most important thing to follow here. And that is the answer to your question. Any shock that you have, whether it was the Great Depression or the Vietnam War or the flash crash, changes how we operate as people. There is no doubt that this is going to change how we operate for the foreseeable future. Oftentimes, the pendulum swings too far. We try to overcorrect things that we just can't see in the future. We create new regulation, new rules, new laws. In something like this, it truly was unpredictable, and how we are reacting to it is unprecedented. There's no doubt this will change significantly how the financial world and how we operate as investors.
All right, so lastly, before we let you go, if you need help, if you need a fiduciary, what do you recommend?
It's important to ask, are you a fiduciary all the time? Then look for these 3 certifications: the CFP, which is the Certified Financial Planner, or a CFA or CIMA for an investment manager. Very few investors have actual board certified credentials. Make sure you find those. You can find that on my website, cddwealth.com. Lots of educational resources that are there to help you find somebody to make sure that you can get taken care of.
Great advice. Thank you, James.